guys, welcome back to episode number 17. Today, our guest is a communication strategist, concept artist, and creative director known for her unique ideas and storytelling based on empathy. She is currently the founder and director of CoffeeBean Media, Try for Good, and Sprout Biocommunications. Her passion is storytelling using any communication medium. Her favorites are cartoons, infographics, and audiovisual presentations. An emerging thought leader and speaker at business and sustainability forums, she has spoken at sustainable brands in Istanbul, Kuala Lumpur, World Marketing Forum, and many others at academic levels. She currently resides in Jaipur, India. That being said, let's welcome our guest today, Dr. Anju Dave Vaish. How are you, ma'am?
Thank you, Sid. Thank you so much. I'm doing good. And thanks for having me here and making me interact with your lovely audiences out there. I hope I'm just able to, share something good, valuable.
Definitely. It's an honor for us to have you, So before we dive into the podcast, I just want you to kind of take a moment and tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Okay, so yeah, hello everyone. This is Anju Dave Vaish. Yeah, doctor. I'm a PhD in botany biotechnology. That's my, the primary academic background, and after that, I went on pursuing my career in advertising. So precisely, I'm a marketing communications professional who has then later on, acquired business management. From IGNO in India, then IIM Bangalore, and then a specialization from Ithaca, New York in strategic communications. And I have over 2 decades of experience as a marketing communications creative professional. And I have worked in diverse industrial markets across India and US, for very large multinational companies like Fortune 500 banners, to something, very, very small startups. And that happened more when I started off my own venture, my own consulting, that is CoffeeBean Media, right? And so, yeah, it's been an interesting creative journey and I'm still evolving. In fact, as a matter of fact, when I'm talking to you, Sid, I'm again, in a very, very transformational phase. So we are going to talk more about it. I think you would have very many questions around that for me.
Definitely. Well, thanks so much for letting our audience know, a little bit about yourself. So now, you came up with a book right now, The Change Generation, in August of 2021. What was your inspiration for this book, and who do you think is the right audience to read this book?
I would say you foremost, as in the millennial bracket I just talk about, because I just wrote it for the millennials and the younger generation, because right now it's your domain to thrive and take the charge for the world, for the change, right? So basically this generation, your generation, is my inspiration. And how I just came about and around that is, a little, I hope you don't mind if I just take a little while explaining this.
No, please. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So it just so happened that during my CoffeeBean Media journey, I was anyways, quite keen on, in fact, my, turning point was when I landed in US, and I was very much, astonished by the loads of products. Some people just get too much charmed by, okay, they are like almost Alice in Wonderland, coming from India to places like this, where there's a lot of consumerism. But I'm anyways a short height person, and I just used to get lost in the aisles, and my husband would look up for me. I'm just kidding here. But mainly where I'm coming from is that lot of this overproduction and pushing consumerism. So I was very much shocked by that sort of a culture, that why do we need to produce so much, and why actually advertising and marketing has to go this way. And being an advertising professional myself, I just felt that moment to be that okay, I'm the culprit too, mea culpa. Although I was never into those, those kind of FMCGs. That I've always been mostly about and around in IT, telecom, office automation, solution-based advertising and all. But somewhere I just felt that it is, our fraternity's responsibility to kind of not really be too pushy, because it is coming at the cost of our ecosystem, our planet. So that's where, I was caught on with the thing about environmental law and sustainability and all that. And the biggest hit was, that when I came back to my country, India, and I just was, kind of totally taken aback that the same strategies were being adopted here, the same kind of strategies by the business, the global brands, I would say, because they have once done, the things over there in the Western market. And now because the economy is shifting to the Asian regions or the developing countries, so they are not really concerned about, the plights of the ecosystem over there, which is already burdened by, the population over here, by, the burdens on, like the water pollution, air pollution, all those things. But they're just pushing for the profits. So I was like, totally taken aback. And then I sort of, started doing a lot of thought process was there on sustainability part. And I had not much of idea about, that there's so much of happening around in the industry as such. But that's where, a parallel thread kind of started in my thinking. And I started, within my organization and wherever I would just happen to consult for even employee engagement or culture, I started, talking about this bit. Mm-hmm. And so my, take was, that, okay, all of you want to stay, because, we have a culture here of aping West, right? So we like that, okay, you want to stay, you want to look cool, but you got to evolve from where you stand. Right. So I come up with concepts like cool evolution and all that. And so moving on, I was then I started with the concept like, you thrive basically with the economic prospering and all that, you're thriving. Mm-hmm. So thrive responsibly. That was my note. And somewhere, the try for good, that journey started. So try stands for the responsible you. So with my try for good journey, I was doing a lot of work. And in that, I started interacting and interviewing people. And then I just came up with this thing that, okay, I should be just doing the now. Yeah, that's what.
And is this available? Where can people find this across United States and India if they want to purchase this book? Is this available on Amazon right now?
It's available on Amazon. And okay. Yeah, and just to tell more about what the book contains, it's see, basically there's also there was a time because the entire interview series which I have done in the book, there are like 12 people from all over the world whom I've interviewed, and all of them are the millennials who have taken charge in this space of sustainability, right? And so when I interviewed them, there was nothing like the sign of pandemic. It just happened when I was almost on the verge of finishing up. And so, and some of them are also in the like food industry, travel industry. And I'm like, okay, what is going to happen next? Because the industry is kind of, facing a lot of troubles. So I kind of, plugged back with them, and I just revised. So it contains, that because there's a lot of discussion happening around, because what is pandemic? It's an opportunity to kind of, look back, slow down, and maybe address the things which we have not addressed so far. That is considering the part of ecosystem, the environment, in our messaging, in the kind of businesses that we do. So the millennials actually have these answers, because I met a lot of people. I was traveling and I was talking to, I was attending conferences, I was a speaker there. So I met a lot of, very smart people. And that is where, I just came to know that this generation is really smart in kind of combining their ambitions vis-a-vis, having a purpose for people and planet. So that's what precisely the book covers. And taking, in a way, the launch campaign for the book was around that. What is it that you really live for, or what makes you live? Because it's not the products. Somewhere, the fad of fancier products we have, we hoard things, and we are always flashing around and all. But the pandemic had put a full stop on everything. And the key things were like, what you remembered was whether you have groceries or not. So it was precisely air. Everybody, recognized the importance of oxygen, right?
Right.
And of course, in a very sad way, but yeah, air, water, and then your, so, the basics, air, water, food. And later on, your shelter and clothing, and then, urbanization. So from that part, I took this opportunity to, kind of slightly, redo the interviews from the perspective of pandemic, because that was a window that, okay, I can seize the attention here of the people. And, so the entire thing goes about that, okay, without air, you probably die in just, 3 minutes.
Dr.
Without
Anju,
water.
I have a question. Sorry for interrupting. So this book, you said you interviewed these millennials. So now, is it more about their perception on the ecosystem and how they see it that's been written in this book? Or is it more about their personality traits and how they are different from the older generation?
Well, actually, that's an interesting point you've made. Well, some of them actually did say, that, okay, we just have to, kind of go for karma cleansing, what our older generations have done, for so long. But at the same time, when I talk to them, it's all about, that, okay, every era has, something. So internet was our thing. So that's why you are connected. And that's why I'm able to connect with you, and we are globally able to send across this message. So there's always a pros and cons, and there's nothing like, everybody is up there for the purpose, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. In fact, it's very, very inspiring for me. It's been very, very inspiring for the people. There's been very good response for the book, and people are motivated. They really want to do something in that space, because most of them are, in their own world. But when they really understand about the thing, that, okay, without air, we are going to die in just 3 minutes, without water, 3 weeks, and, without food, something like, 3 weeks, or no, 3 days without water, for that matter. So the importance, it's just, the shifting the mind. That's what communicators do.
I'm actually going to get this book from Amazon, and I'm also going to list the link of the book of Amazon so people can purchase and get inspired and actually give you a feedback, on what they think about it.
So much.
Yeah,
I would really hope, more and more people getting inspired.
No, absolutely. You're a great role model, if you're already doing that. So hats off to you. Much respect. Now, you are also a creative illustrator. You have done cartoon illustrations, graphics in the book. How did you get that? Like, how were you fascinated by doing cartoon illustrations, graphics? Is that something you have been doing for a long time?
Well said. Drawing, basically, it's because, I'm still a kid inside, and what I love is always to write and draw. That's been right from, like, it's an inherent trait. And I think in school assignments also, I was a doodler, because there would be math class going on, and I would be just doodling, and so it's been there. And I think I was nurtured within my family. I was just allowed to do whatever. And in my school academics and early academic years, college and all, I stood out always. I was always the winner there. In fact, I have won, accolades at the national level. And as a matter of fact, it always comes handy because, because we do posters and all that, but cartoons is something which is, not, is kind of witty. So it really seizes attention, and they really came in handy in all my expressions, especially which I wanted to do around, the sustainability part. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, in all my speaker presentations, they were with me, and they really made an impact.
Oh, wow. That's
I,
amazing.
I, I also did a solo cartoon exhibit actually
Oh, really?
recently. I mean, it's 2017. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Uh, so now let's go straight to your state of brewing ideas. It was a hotel room in New York, 2010, 2011. You were sipping coffee and more coffee, which led you to start Coffee Bean Media. How did that happen? This is pretty interesting.
How do you like the name? I mean, do you like it? Coffee Bean
I love
Media?
it. I love Coffee Bean Media. I'm a coffeeholic, so I'm addicted to coffee. And when you said you were sipping coffee and more coffee, and then it led you to create this Coffee Bean Media. Uh, uh, Tell us some more about, what Coffee Bean Media is. What triggered in your mind sipping so much coffee that you're going to come up with Coffee Bean Media?
Well, so it just so happened, because moving to US, of course, I was working for some IT firms for some recruitment and all that, because, there's a shift. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting what I want. And I soon started, consulting at my own level
Mm-hmm.
before I just formed, a firm, so to say. And so I have to have a name. And at that point in time, we used to shuttle a lot, my husband being an IT professional. And so we used to stay in those, what do you call those sort of the hotels where actually there's like coffee flowing all the time. So
Okay.
I was just anyway spinning around, that, okay, maybe it could be green olive or something. And I was thinking and thinking, I'm like, what do I do? I just keep on brewing ideas all the time. Anyways, I'm a wanderer, I'm a
Right.
dreamer.
Right.
So, and basically, the whole concept revolved around that. Okay, when you go to a perfumery, they always give you coffee beans to kind of
Yeah.
distinguish between
Sound.
the different smells. So that was the key, that how actually unique we are from the other similar creative boutiques. So, okay, here you smell the fresh coffee beans and get the fresh ideas. We brew ideas. That's how it just evolved.
So is it a digital marketing firm, or do you specialize in certain niche at Coffee Bean Media?
Um, okay, so everything, because I am actually a branding person, I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
And so everything about and around any brand is something, how actually I conceive the name of any brand, or what's the story about and around it, how the theme flows and how it is communicated to the external as well as internal audiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? So primarily, yeah, branding, but yeah, because when I started operations from India here, then we became more of a digital company that is, providing website solutions and all.
Okay.
That's what UX designs, everything.
Oh, very good. Interesting. Uh, you also, uh, I also want to talk about your two other ventures, Sprout Biocommunications and Try for Good. Uh, could you tell us in brief a little bit about both ventures, and are they similar? Do they like work simultaneously?
Sprout Biotech actually happened soon after Coffee Bean Media, because I just was, as I just mentioned, that I was exploring, something which I can do for the people and the planet. So that's where, my background in this biotech came in handy. And I started picking up a lot of projects in the healthcare space,
Mm-hmm.
and anything, because for environment, so to say, it just came on later. But there was a lot of these projects which were around in healthcare, and something to do with biotechnology. So that's where Sprout Biotech Communications came in. And Try for Good actually just happened just subsequently, when I started focusing more on the sustainability projects, because that's where the projects around the environment started coming in, especially when I came back to India. I started
Mm-hmm.
working with the government of India for
Okay.
certain projects. So, and Tripod would just kind of emerged alongside. So there are two different entities, so to say. Suppose Try for Good Try for Good initially was more of a not-for-profit kind of a thing.
Okay.
Now I'm just spinning off, something of a profitable thing to sustain it from that itself. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So we will actually put the website links of all your three ventures so people can take a look at it, understand in detail your concept, your idea,
Thank you.
I mean, you're also a speaker, besides being, author, consultant. You have spoken at many national and international prestigious forums. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that come along? And is that something you wanted to be, a public speaker?
No, as a matter of fact, I was always a very, very quiet and shy person in school.
Okay.
And my father used to be, very much worried about me, being so quiet. And my mom would also tell me, that, okay, those who don't speak, they don't sell. So, but anyways, I mean, I was on the creative side because whatever I wanted to say, I was able to just communicate through writing and visual communication. But of course, moving to, in jobs and other places, of course, you go a little quacky. And living in Delhi, so, it changes your personality. But I never thought of you, being a public speaker, so to say. I think it all comes and said that what is your purpose? Because when I started going on, my purpose of sustainability being, thinking about, really going passionate and driven about the thought that, okay, there should be something communicated back from India to the global brands to be responsible and don't really go by the same approach what they have done, they have been doing for so many years. As a matter of fact, when I was there in US, I just started, finding a stark change in terms of, when I initially observed the heavy consumerism. At the same time, they had started, the famous campaign of Patagonia and all that, those jackets that don't buy this jacket and all that. And so many others, where they were speaking of, Eastern values, which is about, you also coming from India, that we have always been, our parents have never been buying in excess. And, we have always been reusing the things. We have always been upcycling.
Right.
So why advertisers have a huge responsibility when they come to, those markets, because I felt a little cheated, that, okay, in the US, they are saying something different, which my country speaks. And here in India, they are talking their language. So I just felt, completely driven by that fact. And then that's where, I just thought that, okay, I can take it to the main stage somewhere. So I looked at the right opportunities and connected with the right people. So I came up with, the things like global brands, they hold, they have the opportunity to do good.
Okay.
And something like aping west, you can go south. That was a very interesting place because it was Istanbul, and it was the perfect point, between where, the west and east meets.
Right.
So I was really, okay, this is a perfect place for me to speak. So it just happens automatically.
Wow, that's interesting. I really am fascinated by your approach, the way you see things. You have a very balanced approach to the way you do things. That's just my perception.
Well, I'm glad you think it this way, and yeah, I'll take it as a compliment.
Great job. So what is it that you're most passionate about amongst all your different silos of ventures that you're involved in? Tell me something, the one thing that you're most passionate about and why.
One thing, okay, that's a challenge for me because always I try to keep telling myself, okay, do one thing, but my birth number is 3.
Something that gives you a purpose, your own identity, something that says, you know what, this is what I was born to do in life.
I think I'm through in and out a very, very creative person. Okay. I'm imaginative. I'm very original. I like originality in whatever I do. And that's what sets me apart. And I would embrace, all the evolving media for that matter, take support from, the younger generation also to
Mm-hmm.
execute the ideas and all that. So all in all, creativity. And the new thing is all about, because my current thing is sustainability, and moving on from, the environmental sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Now the latest, as we say in Hindi, the latest ida
Yeah, yeah,
is about, the latest, the bug, as we say. It's now I'm just going into the inner sustainability,
yeah. Okay.
consciousness,
Conscious.
because that's what I figured out. People, whomsoever, because in advertising it's very difficult, because environment does not have a face, and mostly people who have faces, like now there's a lot of thing going about, this LGBTQI things,
Correct.
and in India, there's this famous, share the load, some gender equality and all that. But what do we say for the environment? It doesn't have a face.
It doesn't.
So that's where I just figured out that, okay, if suppose we start, that's where, my try forward thing actually revolves around healthier environment, better communities, and happier you. So it covers all the range of sustainability, from environment to your happiness.
Great. Uh, Dr. Anju, I want to know this, personally as well. Uh, how do you define success in your own eyes? Like, and what do you have to say for challenges and failure? So I am actually bringing three small questions together. So to break it down, part one, what does
Sure.
success mean to you?
Um, for any creative person, the acceptance of the thought process, the change that which you are able to see is the biggest success. As a matter of fact, some of my clients have been very happy. Some of my seniors or customers, they have been very happy with the work.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere the biggest satisfaction which I felt while pursuing, my try for good venture,
Mm-hmm.
was the association with the younger generation. Because it was even before all this. If you're aware of this OECD, Open Defecation Free
Mm-hmm.
India campaign and all that, I started it before that. Because I came here and a lot of people used to say that, okay, where do you get these ideas from? We did, something like eco selfie contest and so many workshops about and around. And so my, I just call them, try ignite thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I just associate with youth. So they say that you just kind of work around the law of attraction, because whatever you say is happening. Because we did, together this sort of exhibition where actually we just said that, okay, how should the marriages happen in India, because we do a lot of wastage and all that. So we had, an exhibition around that of their collective thing. That's what is the biggest thing. If you're able to see the change from your creation, from your concepts. So basically I'm more of a concepts person.
Mm-hmm. I like
Yeah.
that. Interesting. And then
And
what?
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, no, please go ahead. Carry on, please.
Yeah, and I think challenges, everywhere there are going to be challenges for you to succeed, get success in your vision,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because sometimes it would be different mindsets. Sometimes it could be, something totally unexpected coming your way. So it could be an everyday challenge to something like, a challenge which is like moving a mammoth task to get your things done. So it's always, highs and lows, and you just bend down sometimes, you just resist sometimes. It's all, there always.
And what do you have to say regarding the failures in life? You know, professionally,
They're very
personally.
important. They are very important because they make you more resilient, and they make you think differently. And because there is nobody who's just through out and out, successful. Because even if suppose they're like sitting on the top, they have
Mm-hmm.
their own multiple failures, and every failure is a learning. It makes you stronger to do it the other way around to get success.
That's great. Uh, I have a couple of more things before we wrap this up. Uh, would you like to share some of your favorite creative projects with our audience?
Yes, I think somewhere, whatever I've done for people and planet, stays as my favorite so far. This book is one of my favorite project, and something which I did, the Grow Safe Food campaign with the government of India here, and a not-for-profit
What is
company.
it? What's the name of it?
Grow Safe Food.
Okay.
That was targeting the farmers, because they just use spurious pesticides, or they would not know, the end user would not know the consequences of those pesticides. So building an awareness campaign from them, that was carried out all across India here. That's one of my favorite. And then there is this, if you have heard of Science Express, that's a climate action special train, which covers, entire India, and which reaches out to 1.5 crore young people, right? The students and youth. So I had done, a sustainability exhibit. We had a coach there for that, and other giveaways, etc. So I was a designer for that.
Amazing.
That's one of them. And also, this UI UX design and branding, etc. for speech impaired people, so in the healthcare segment. So these are a couple.
Is that more catered towards like Indian market, or is that global?
That's US, yes.
Oh, that's US.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great. So do you like, where can we find information on that if someone from US wanted to look at it regarding this venture?
Well, actually, Sid, that's not a single project, because I did, a couple of them. Yeah, I did a couple of them, because one after the other. So, if suppose you look up for assistive technologies for speech, you can find. But I can just mention, one of my friends' project which I did with them. That's VoicePal, VoicePal. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
And there is Modzas. Yeah, right. So they have moved. They've grown bigger. That's there. Yeah.
That's amazing. Dr. Anju, final question for this episode. What is your message to the audience who are watching this podcast?
Okay, always be a kid at heart. That's what I would just say, because that's going to keep you very creative, very innovative, quite a good learner with an open heart.
That's actually very interesting quote, the way you put it. Always be a kid at your heart. I just wanted to say thank you for being with us. It was an honor, and we had a blast,
Yeah, I had a very good time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good night. Bye-bye.